Well, welcome to the David Suzuki Foundation. Come on in. This is our reception here, our newly renovated office.
So the idea was we would set up an organization that looks at the deep underlying root causes of our destructiveness. And then we can try to find genuine solutions that will move us in a different direction. So that was the idea. It would be based on the best science available. And then we would want to communicate our ideas to the general public.
The environmental work and working with First Nations became so important to me that I quit my job at Harvard and came back to British Columbia, moved the whole family back. We were based in Toronto at that time, in order to find out what we could do, what I could do that would perhaps contribute towards turning things around.
Well, the Suzuki Foundation is definitely the result of the collaboration between my mom and dad, for sure.
What I was hoping for when we started the foundation was that we would expand what we were already doing. And David was already doing a lot, television, radio, books, magazine articles, columns in the newspaper. And I was doing everything that I could as a volunteer. But I wanted to expand it, to find ways to help others to do more. That was one thing. But the second thing is I wanted to find ways to communicate that would change behavior.
I've worked with the David Suzuki Foundation for about 9 years. I left the university where I was an academic to join David and his team. And I run a program that is focused on the protection of the fields, the farms, the forests, and other ecosystems in Canada that are not just important in terms of maintaining ecological integrity, such as habitat for grizzly bears and wolves and other wondrous creatures, but are also the life support systems of the planet: clean air, clean water, and healthy food to eat.
Hi, I'm James Boothroyd, Director of Public Affairs and Communications at the David Suzuki Foundation, and we do a lot of communications across a range of areas here, so we have a lot of people working in that area. I'm here meeting with 3 of my great team. There's Sutton Eves over on the right in that groovy hat. She's our communications specialist team lead. She's sitting next to Ian Hannington, who is our communications and editorial specialist. And we have our senior coordinator for public information officer, Shannon Moore. These are just 3 people working in a team. The communications department has a number of areas. It has community building, it has community leadership, it has creative services. We do public engagement, we do conventional media work. We do a whole lot of stuff.
Hi, I work at the David Suzuki Foundation doing primarily media commentary and as a spokesperson as David Suzuki's Queen of Green. That involves taking questions from Canadians, our donors and supporters on everyday green living topics and giving you tips and ideas to live a little lighter on the planet.
Well, when I think back over the 20 years that the foundation has been in existence and think of victories, there have been a lot of them, and there's a couple that stand out in my mind. One was when we were able to get Kyoto ratified, and that was a huge accomplishment. We'd been in Kyoto in 1997, and the climate change team had worked incredibly hard. Climate change has been an issue that we've been working on since 1997, and I think we'll be working on it for a long time to come. It's a very important project of ours, and I'd like to introduce you to Morag Carter, who's director of the program. Morag, can you tell us a little bit about your team and the work that you're doing?
Absolutely. Let me just introduce you to the team, and we can talk about the work as we're doing that. In the far corner over here is Ryan Kadawaki, who is our program coordinator, keeps us all together. But Ryan also is a trained presenter for the Climate Project, Al Gore's Climate Project in Canada. So he's one of a team of people that goes and talks about climate change to all sorts of organizations. Next to him is Harpreet Joel and Winnie Ho. Winnie and Harpreet work a lot on our outreach program for the Indo-Canadian and Chinese community.
The one that I was most personally involved in terms of actually putting in months and months of work was the Pacific Salmon Forest project. And I feel that that was a huge success, and I'm very proud of the work we did.
That initiative started with a realization that the last temperate rainforests on Earth were in the northern part of British Columbia. It's in our backyard as a foundation. So the foundation went out and said, okay, we're going to take steps to protect the last temperate rainforests on Earth.
One day, when all of the chiefs were down in town at a quarterly summit, we had a side table to talk about some forestry plans. And at the end of the meeting, the chief said, you know, this forestry information is all right, but the main thing about this meeting was you brought us all together and we don't know each other.
Our approach was to say, this is First Nations territory. First Nations have lived here for thousands of years. We will support the First Nations in their battle to gain recognition that this is their territory. We will support that because it's right, and we believe they will be better stewards of that land than we've been.
The nations are sometimes tiny. The village of Oikino has 80 people. So when they talk to the Department of Fisheries and Oceans saying the sockeye run of Rivers Inlet has collapsed, they just couldn't even get their phone calls returned. But when they speak as a united body for the whole mid and north coast, they become very powerful indeed.
The forests are as much a product of the ocean as of the lands, and the salmon are an important nutrient source for all of this. And took those understandings with the respect for First Nations, and that evolved into the Turning Point Project, which is now the Coastal First Nations, who are a coalition of First Nations who have negotiated comprehensive land use plans over a half of the landmass of British Columbia.
Now I'd like to introduce you first to our development team headed up by Andrea here, and the development team takes care of all of the donations, small and large, from individuals, thousands of individuals and organizations that choose to support our work, and without them, of course, we wouldn't exist. They're the fuel that keeps the foundation going, so Andrea's job is rather important.
Well, so the development team, our job is to connect people to the work of the David Suzuki Foundation, people who care about the same issues that we do. And our job is basically to find all the resources that are needed to fund all the good work that happens here.
You know, the open net cage salmon farms have not expanded in the last 10 years in any appreciable way, and the David Suzuki Foundation has been a big part of that. Closed containment salmon farming, which 5 years ago was considered a joke, is starting to become a reality, and you can find the stuff in stores, and that's a big shift that wouldn't have happened without our help. Clearly, some of the large protected areas on the forests, changes to the way we regulate our fisheries. The British Columbia trawl fishery, for example, or the halibut fishery, they've completely changed the way they're managed to a point where we're starting to look at them as models of ecologically responsible management. And those are things we've been involved in. Other things are subtle, more slower changes. Just the fact that we go in and we talk to businesses all the time now, and instead of running away scared, they're eager to speak to us. It's not a victory like we saved this place, but it's a victory in that we've gotten a new group of people to talk to who can make really significant changes that we're looking for. So I think there's a range of victory that we've been a part of.
So here he is, Peter Robinson. I just want you to tell us a little bit about yourself and about what you're doing with the organization.
Well, before I do that, I just want the camera to look at this photo here on the wall. When I first started here just about 3 years ago now, one of the first things I did was to have that blown up and framed and put behind me so that I could have the sense that David was watching over me and urging me to get on with the type of work that we do. And I think you've seen over the 3 years some interesting shifts. We've become a bilingual organization. We've opened an office in Montreal. We have a dynamic French team based out of Montreal now. Our Toronto office has reopened with one of our core program areas around conservation and natural capital valuation. And our Vancouver office has taken on a whole new life, not just because of what you've seen in the tour around here, but because of our focus now on what we call public engagement. How can we use the very good science we do to actually shift the way that people think and act about the environment?
Alors, ça fait 3 ans maintenant qu'on a établi notre bureau à Montréal. et qu'on travaille au Québec. Et depuis 3 ans, on a vraiment déjà commencé à réaliser qu'on a des impacts ou qu'on a une influence sur la façon dont les choses se déroulent dans la province. Un des exemples, c'est que à l'automne 2010, on a réalisé des simulations de déversement pétrolier dans le golfe Saint-Laurent parce qu'il y a des entreprises qui veulent aller faire des forages dans le golfe Saint-Laurent, qui est une mer intérieure, beaucoup plus petite que le golfe du Mexique, où on sait qu'il y a eu une catastrophe l'année en 2010. Et suite à la publication de ces simulations-là, on a demandé aux Canadiens, aux Québécois, d'écrire au premier ministre du Canada et au premier ministre des provinces pour leur demander de faire un moratoire sur l'exploration du pétrole dans le golfe du Saint-Laurent et aussi de s'asseoir tout le monde ensemble parce que le golfe Saint-Laurent, c'est un seul écosystème et il faudrait le gérer tout le monde ensemble.
A member of the Greenest City Action Team these last couple of years, putting together the city's action plan to be the greenest in the world by 2020, which has really blossomed into an initiative that has tens of thousands of Vancouverites now involved in the efforts. And I think this stands on the shoulders of a lot of the work that he has done with his family. Good to see 3 generations of the family here.
We ended up going to the Earth Summit in 1992, and actually after 2 weeks we were able to address the plenary session of the UN. So that was a pretty big accomplishment for us, and it's definitely something that's marked my life.
Hello, I'm Severin Suzuki speaking for ECHO, the Environmental Children's Organization. We're a group of 12 and 13-year-olds trying to make a difference. We've raised all the money to come here ourselves, to come 5,000 miles to tell you adults you must change your ways. Coming up here today, I have no hidden agenda. I am fighting for my future. Losing my future is not like losing an election or a few points on the stock market. I am here to speak for all generations to come.
Well, to tell you the truth, if somebody from the future is watching this, then I guess we must have succeeded because times are pretty tough. And I guess I'd like people to know that we really did our best.
Looking at the huge challenges we have in front of us, what we've tackled and what we've accomplished in the short life of this foundation certainly gives me hope, and it gives me and others a vehicle to work with other like-minded human beings and doing the very best we can in tackling these challenges.
So I guess my great hope is that in 100 years, in 200 years, that people look back on this crucial era where we're really deciding what the future is going to hold, and they respect what we were doing.